Okay, I think I'm live now. Yo, I w- y'all, I have went live at least 5 times. I have went live at least 5 times. Like it's crazy. It's crazy how I went live like at least 5 times trying to um yeah, it says I'm live. It says I'm live. Um how are you guys doing? Just in here right now, just waiting for people to arrive. Um so okay, y'all good. Okay, let me put my camera back up here. Cause y'all, let me tell y'all something. Technical difficulties. Okay. We all start somewhere. This is where I'm starting. Okay. I'm glad I'm over certain things because let me tell you. Um I was I was not I was easily probably embarrassed by things. This would have embarrassed me like a while ago. But here we are. How so I finally am on a successful live because I was live like 2 or 3, maybe 4 times. And it just it wouldn't act right. The camera was messed up and everything. And well, I'm Lorenza Niccholl Molina, aka the Black Butterfly Queen, La Reina Mariposa Negra. This is a live review for the throne. View from the Throne, my podcast. It has been an audio podcast for a while, and now it's going to be visual. And this is just like a formal or informal, I guess. Hello, how you doing? Um, type of live. Um, it's in, it's a it's a step of faith, right? Um, for me, it's a step in active faith because faith without works is dead, and we know that. It's a step of active acting on my faith, acting not just on my faith but my belief and my trust in God, right? I am trusting that God got me. And thank you. Thank you, girl. uh, thank you. I just saw the comment. Yes, I'm trusting God that he is right. I mean, I know that sounds weird because God is God. I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, even if he said the sky was green, it would probably turn green before he finished the sentence because he can't be wrong. But this is just, a step in my acting in my faith, acting outside of my comfort zone, acting intentionally, acting like I know who God is, acting like I know what he means when he says that he is who he is, acting like I believe him, acting like the proof that I have already from the times in my life are relevant, and not living out or living from a place of trauma or fear or anxiety or anything like that. This is what this is for me. Not just the podcast, but literally going live today. This is what it is today. I am a planner. I like to plan. This was not my plan. This most definitely was God's plan. I must have had God's side tight and busting for all the plans that I told him I had. Because he was like, none, that's not even how any of this is going to go down. That's not even how it's gonna happen. So I'm sitting here and I'm just, amazing I'm here, guys. Well, I 2024. I mm, I remember when that seemed like just a future date in a movie, and it's like real and we're here. Um I guess I want to just start. I already started, but I guess I want to go into what View from the Throne, why the title is called View from the Throne in the first place. View from the Throne is it started from a dream. It started from dreams and hopes and visions and of the future of what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be, but it was always given to me. It was something that, I've had several dreams where I was just like talking to God in outer space, like, and I would see the earth, and I had several dreams where I was in this space, and these dreams would come when at random. Sometimes when I was in distress, I would have these types of dreams, and it was always from this space where it was space, and I've always been so fascinated with space, sci-fi, or reality. I've always been fascinated with it, and it always felt like throughout my life, even when I didn't feel like I had anybody really showing me anything, I always felt like there was someone there that was standing behind me, kind of like a parent stands behind a child and like points over their shoulder to help them figure out, "Oh, go over there, honey, and get that off the table. You see the brown table over there? You see the cup with the pink lid? I want you to get that cup and bring it to me." And sometimes you have to put the child in front of you and then point so they can see from your perspective, but with their eyes. And it's not about the whole room. It's just about the thing you want them to see in the room so that they can go get it, so that they can bring it back to you. So, View from the Throne is the the view from where God sits in my life and how he puts me in in front of him and says, "Okay, you see that over there? I want you to go do that." It's from that perspective. They said that the earth, it says in the Bible that the earth is the Lord's footstool. And with all the dreams that I've had and reading about that and feeling like this is also the experience I've had a lot of the times when I've gone through some very hard times. It just felt like there was God. He was him, like a parent, leaning his hand over my shoulder and showing me what to do. And he has been showing me things from his perspective. And I can tell you, God God's perception and perspective of things are very wide. And ours is so limited. So even in how he shows me things, it's it's always strategic. It's always for a reason. It's always has a reason or a purpose, attached to it. But I feel um like everything that God has been giving me over the years um has to do with um just his perception. I have my own. And it was not having a podcast. Let me tell you that. Not at all. Mm-mm. Excuse me. um, my perception was not this. I would have never guessed this, and part of the reason why is because I didn't really feel comfortable speaking in front of people. I know I have a gift of gab. However, it would only be with certain people. So kind of like introverted person with the gift of gab. it is a contradiction. I love my time by myself. I love time to myself. Being around people sometimes can be draining, not because it's always negative, just because it just takes something to be in the presence and try to stay present, because when you just pick up everything in the room, you pick up all the. So for me, how I've stayed present also when I'm in the room, or how I was covered when I was in the room, was always from God's perspective. Like, I would just sit and people watch and listen to God, and that's how, I handle being in a room. And so everything about the view from the throne is literally from his throne. We all have thrones. We all have um crowns. We are kings or queens, or empress, or something. We have something, but and that's good. But he wouldn't be the king of all kings if there wasn't any kings or queens, and the Lord of all lords if there wasn't any leaders or masters. Um when I say masters, I mean in a regal way, not in the, I'm not even gonna go there, but in the regal way. So um we all have thrones, but there's no throne like God's throne. God's throne is the only place you can really go and be yourself fully. When you go to a king or a queen or a president or somebody ruler, you have to be decked out. But with God, he prefers you to come naked. I know that sounds weird, but when I say naked, I mean vulnerable, open as yourself. No trying to hide it. And it's not like he can't see it, but it's something when you volunteer your vulnerability. It's something when you volunteer your heart. It means more. God is not a forceful guy. He doesn't force himself on us, but he will encourage you. He will consistently encourage you, but he does not force. Love is patient and love is kind. Love does not bear false witness against his neighbor. God is love, so why would he be that? Um, so View from the Throne is from the throne of God, perspective, and how he talks to me. And then not just me, but anyone else that may come on. It's a way to look at things differently. Um, to look at things in the blind spaces. When you're driving and you're trying to get over and you can't tell if you have you know the right way to get over, or somebody's right there because of the blind space, the blind spots. So View from the Throne is seen in the blind spot. um this podcast was in my blind spot, with so many other gifts that he's been, showing and revealing me. And I'm sure that there's like some people who also feel like they've tried everything. They know they have a purpose. They know they have, but the doors seem to not be opening, and you don't realize it's right there. It's like you can feel it, but you can't see it. You don't know how to respond yet. And I just feel like that a lot of the time, the door we have to walk through is in the blind spot. Is in the place that we would never look. Is in a place that we can't see, and it takes God to reveal it to us. It takes God to show us what's in the blind spot. I think it's necessary that it's there, because the question would arise, well, why would he put it in a blind spot? I think it's necessary that it's there. Because if you could see everything, then you will lean only to your own understanding. And our understanding is limited. So consider a limited understanding with a full scope. You would be maybe overwhelmed by everything you saw, and you would draw your own conclusions. Even in science, it says children remember things, and sometimes adults even may remember something in a different way than from how it exactly happened. Because if they're overwhelmed or even excited, in a good way, that they can draw their own conclusion and illustrate their own idea because it's about their perception. But it doesn't mean that your perception is fully accurate. That's why when they say, oh, I have an eyewitness, but do you have more? It's important to have as many eyewitnesses as you possibly can when you're trying to prove something, because it still matters, but perspective and perception make the difference. So when God is trying to show us something, we don't need to see everything at once. We need the blind spots so we will ask him. So it will convey the question. Everything that happens is to help us to convey the question so that we will seek God. Because God wants to be sought out. He wants to be sought. Anybody that is loved or anybody that is loving or in a relationship with you in any form, if it's mother, father, spouse, child, they don't want to just you come when you need something or something. You come when you need something, or you just ignore them, or you don't appreciate them. They don't want that. They want you to seek them out, and you want people to seek you out because they love you. And sometimes, in order for people to find out what you have for them, it starts with a question. It starts with, "Hey, did you see my keys? Did you see this? Da, 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 da. Yeah, I saw it. Oh, I got it for you. Here you go. Here you go, babe. Or give you your keys, give you a kiss on the cheek, whatever. Everything starts with a question. It conveys a dialogue, a conversation. It starts with a question. And so God leaves us in a world full of questions. Because once again, we're living in a place where there's full view and perspective everywhere, but we are in the blind. We can't see all of it because our understanding is still limited, and we need to not draw our own conclusions because we are guilty of drawing our own conclusions with the things that aren't in the blind spots. We're already guilty of that. So it's important to have a world of questions so that it will convey the question that you want to give to God. It'll put you in a certain posture, a certain thought process, so that you seek God. God wants to be sought because he loves you. He wants relationship. We talk about a lot of religion in this world. There's so many religions. There's so many religions that have stemmed from the belief systems of God. But no one is really into really relationship, it seems like they need to be, if we're going to be talking about God. Now, if you don't believe in God, that's your business. If you don't believe in anything I'm saying, that's your business. But this, once again, is just view from the throne. So I speak from this place, you know? So as I speak from this place, I think it's important that we have questions because they help put us in a certain position mentally and emotionally. Sometimes it helps us deal with the pain in our heart. Because why, God? Why me? Why I got to deal with this? And you're really asking, am I worthy? Am I ever going to be good enough? Was I ever good enough? Am I important? Am I special? That's what you're asking. When I was little, I'm gonna come back to the same point, but from a different direction. When I was little, I saw a lot of, different things changing around me. There was in a point in my life where we were losing people, new people were coming into our lives, we were losing our home, we were moving to a new place, going to new schools. It was a lot going on. And I asked God about love because at first I didn't really question it because I saw it. But when I started seeing other things that didn't feel like it, I asked him, what is love? What is our purpose? That's what I asked him. What is our purpose? And because I started feeling like I was getting pulled away from mine. And mind you, I was only like 7, but I started feeling poured out, empty, stressed. And I was like, God, I don't feel the love I used to feel. Why am I here? One of my favorite aunts at the time passed away. I was like, God, why am I here? Why is one of my protectors gone? And I said, what's the point of life? And he told your purpose was, I created you not because I necessarily needed you. I'm God. I'm fulfilled all by myself. I created you because I wanted to share my love with you. So you were created and formed from my heart. You were created and formed because of love. You were created in just so that you can receive love and be loved on. But not only to be loved on, but to have the capacity to give that back. And God never said we have to be him, but he does outline what love is. And so he created us so that we can be loved first. He wanted to be our first example on everything. So we wouldn't even know what love is until we go to God. And then he created us to be able to be loved first and then love him back. But not only that, after we have been in a relationship of love with God, we're able to reproduce that and love others. So it's three. It's being loved, loving him back, and sharing his love. That's our purpose. That's our human purpose in this world. We're supposed to be able to love ourselves as humanity together the way God loves himself all at once together. But our example is him. We had to have a blind spot in order to seek it out so that we would know how to do it. He made sure that we would always need him so that we wouldn't go off and fall somewhere that he couldn't pull us out of. See, every purpose, every action in purpose. See, our main purpose is to be love, and love others. Love God and love others. But everything that we do, people say, "Oh, I have a passion for it," or I just love helping people. Love is something that's so etched in us that we just respond and react to it. How do I know? Like, love is something that if you see a child about to get hit by a car, you may just respond. You may not be a mother, a father, you may be another child, but you'll react in love, meaning you'll act on it. Love is an action word too. You'll react on it and pull them out of the way. God said there's no greater love than for a man to lay down his life for his brother. How many people have we heard that have saved a stranger and died in the process? But God said there's no greater love. How is it possible for you to have that much love for somebody you don't know? Because we're made and formed from his love. It is our first nature. Before we know our name, it is our first nature. So, no matter what you do, if you don't do it with love, you do it with emptiness. You can have everything in the world, but if you don't have love, you don't have anything. And then what I mean by that, not necessarily people, I'm talking about your hearts, God inside. People gain so much sometimes in this world, so much money. A few years ago when the stock market crashed, people were jumping out of windows because they didn't have love for God or themselves. They had love for money. And they couldn't see themselves without money. And since money is just paper and it has no sustenance other than the power to exchange on different levels, barter and trade on different levels, it is limited. When the thing that you put your all into is taken away, why be here? That was the logic. Rich people who've gained everything, jumping out of windows because the stock market crashed, is wild to me. But there's other rich people, the stock market crashed, that they didn't jump out the window. Why? Because maybe their heart wasn't always into the money. They may enjoy having it, but did they love it? Most likely not. Not to the point of death. It wasn't their God. It wasn't something they worshiped. It was something they used. They understood it as a tool. So you can have everything, but if you don't have love, what do you have? You could be a great doctor. You can be the best janitor. Because janitors matter too, because service takes love. Some people love serving. But if you don't have the heart, you miss out on all the layers that come with whatever you do. And so sometimes we're going to be called to do things we don't like, but we can still do it with love. Love unto God. Love for the people that you may help. From that space, there's so much covering and protection. When we do things for others and not do it for the attention of others, but do it because, no, I just want to be a loving person. I want to do this as unto God. I want to do this because I want to be pleasing to God. I want to be pleasing to the Lord. I want to do this because I want to make an impact in somebody's day. I choose to be kind. When people treat people who are kind as if they are weak, you do not understand. It is a hard choice today to be kind. True kindness in the face of all the chaos going on in this world, people love to crucify the kind. They love to crucify the kind because, see, the kind make you accountable. The kind make you deal with the ugly truth in front of you when you don't want to. And so instead of rising to the challenge, we crucify the kind, we crucify the loving in order to escape our accountability, which is an illusion. Because all you do is heap more accountability onto your head. You don't escape anything. You can't run from who you are. You can't run from what you need to change. It always comes back. So, in a world full of chaos and crazy, no matter what you do, no matter what your passion is, no matter what your gifts are, or your talents, or your skill set, your foundation and the biggest part of your everything, your purpose, is to first be loved, to love God back, and then share it with somebody. Our gifts make room for us in rooms so that we can do that. Our platforms put us in position so that we can do that. It's never really about us. It's about opportunity to love somebody. And if you haven't been put in certain positions yet, and if you haven't been able to operate in your gifts the way you want to quite yet, maybe you need to ask yourself, how am I loving me? If God loved me, that he so much that he would give his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth in him would not perish, but have everlasting life. If God loved me that much, how much am I loving myself? If God loves me unconditionally, meaning no matter what I do, it can't alter the fact that he loves me. It can't alter his love for me. He may get upset with me. He may get displeased with me. But the evidence of the love is also the displeasure or the frustration. Because I love you, I want you to do well. Because I love you, I correct my children. I correct you. Because I love you, I show you your heart. I show you what I want to give you. Because I love you, I need to Fix the things that people broke in you so that you can receive more of me, so that I can have more of you. Because this whole thing has been about me and you having a relationship, me and you having a conversation, me and you spending time together, and everything else has been getting in the way. All the distractions, all these wants and desires. And as the world turns and as time passes, the more distractions continue to come. More distractions continue to show. And it doesn't matter what it is. If it's a distraction, it's just from the hat of distractions. It's just still a distraction. No matter the name of it, the type of distraction, it's a distraction from really knowing the power and the foundation of being loved by God, being able to love God, love yourself correctly, love yourself unconditionally. And I'm not talking about entitlement. I'm not talking about the right to just treat anybody any kind of way. I'm not talking about being narcissistic. I'm not talking about the lack of accountability. I'm not talking about being irresponsible with your energy and just throwing shade or just throwing your attitude around and be like, well, that's just how I am. That's not unconditional. That's just giving people a condition. It's going to be like this or whatever. That's not real joy or happiness. And if you don't know, it's probably because you never had anything to compare it to. But God said, let me be the one to compare it. Line it up next to me. Let me show you what it really means to be loved first, because you got to have the example. God has said he is the author and the finisher of our faith, meaning he goes ahead of us in everything. So he puts it on himself to be the example. He didn't say your mama was going to be an example, your daddy was going to be a good example, your brothers, your sisters, your husband, your wife were going to be great examples of love. He said, I loved you first. I am the example. I am the example of unconditional love. They call agape love, but unconditional. I'm the example of grace and compassion under fire. I am the example of hope, the flicker that sparks the flame for faith. I am that. I am that I am that I am. I am your reason for being. God, why am I here? Because I wanted you. The God above all wanted you. But people are killing themselves because a person didn't want them. Because people didn't want them. Because life is so hard. You feel so pulled away, so lost, but you matter. If we are before God, even in our mother's womb, who is a man to tell us who we are? Who is a person in this world to tell us who we are? Who can tell you who you are when they didn't make you? And oftentimes when people are telling you who they are, because they are messed up and broken themselves, not understanding conditional love, only understanding conditions. We put conditions on everybody. We got conditions for men. We got conditions for women. We got conditions for children. We got conditions for pastors. We got conditions for basketball players. We got conditions for doctors. We got conditions for our government. We got conditions for everybody but ourselves. And then sometimes we do have some conditions for ourselves because we still don't know how to love ourselves correctly. Sometimes we don't become entitled. We become self-abusive, being extra hard on ourselves unnecessarily. God didn't ask you to do that, but life did, didn't it? Life told you that, didn't it? Because no one showed you anything, did they? They didn't show you not one thing. And so you had to work hard to pay attention to the details. You had to work hard to make sure you double check, triple check, because no one was going to have your back like you. But God said, I'm here. With me, you ain't got to double check. When I brought it to you, it was already done. God said that he prepares a table before us in the presence of our enemies. You didn't have to double check that. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. You ain't got to double check that. Thy rod and thy staff comfort me. Love and correction comfort me. If you don't love me, you're not going to correct me. If you don't love me, you're not going to think about me ahead of time. If you don't love me, you're not going to make room for me to be human and give me grace. And I have to do that back. Your purpose is forged in love. It's going to sound weird, but I'm going to say it like this. You God's love child. Everything about you is because of love. Everything that's going on is him trying to find a way back to you and you back to him. Everything has been about his relationship with you. Everything. Commitment to him, because he's committed to you. To your last breath, he's committed to you. Into eternity, he's committed to you, especially if you can commit. Just imagine what you have waiting, but imagine what you don't have to wait for anymore. I remember when I was little, I wanted to I told God, I said, God, when I get to heaven, I want to sit on your lap and give you a big, big hug. And I want to hear, well done, my good and faithful servant. That was it. People had talked so much about heaven. All I wanted to do was be there. I could see it. Forget Disneyland. Forget sitting on Santa's lap. Let me see heaven, baby. Let me sit on God's lap and hug him around the neck real tight, like my Auntie Vun used to say, and never let him go. That was my dream. Before I knew I was going to be a singer or a podcaster, my dream was just to hug God and hear him say those words to me. I wanted to do good for God. Well, let's fast forward to my adult life. And life has lifed and jaded things have happened. And I'm fast forwarding all the way to last year, 2023, Women Evolve. And for the first time, I am in a crowded stadium and I don't feel anxiety or stress or anything like that. I feel peace. It's amazing. It's like I can see kind of what's going on, but I wasn't feeling it in my body. I wasn't feeling. It was just like, wow. It was so wonderful. Anybody that was there, they know how it was. Just the atmosphere alone spoke for itself. But there was one night, and it was the I think Friday night, the second night. Me and the ladies that I went with, my sisters, we show up, and it is overwhelmingly. I mean, it was an overflow because one segment had overflowed into the next. And so the ladies that were coming to the next segment were running into the ladies that were still there from the last one. And the anointing was just like, it was so thick. And usually we sat close towards the bottom, but at this point we had to sit in the nosebleeds. And so I'm up there and and it didn't matter where you sat. It did not matter. It was like you were he was right there with you, no matter where you sat at. And it was just a different perspective, position, and placing in the room. And that I felt like it was intentional, and it was. Because as I was praying and as God was pulling something out from me, there was a woman who waited until I was done, until everything was over, to speak to me. And I don't really like, strangers touching me or hugging me. But here it was like no one was a stranger. And she just reached out to me and she grabbed me by the face, y'all. And I promise you, it's like I saw God's hands grabbing me by the face. And then she hugged me. And it looked like God himself was hugging me. And simply said, I didn't have to wait until I got to heaven to get a hug from God. When I tell you, I thought I was crying before, I broke down and everything just start coming out. I started saying everything. There was things I hadn't even shared with my sisters at the time that I was dealing with whilst I was there. But I was just so happy I was there, and I was just like, I'm just going to just keep my pace, just, make sure I keep up with everybody. But I was in physical pain. There was all these things. But the desire of a child was still there in me. That love that I felt from God when I was little, that I was like, I want to hug you, Lord. He gave it to me. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. He gave me a hug. And that wasn't the last person or the first person, but that was one of the most memorable women at that time that hugged me. But every time someone hugged me, I would see the arms. But that time was so, because my heart finally broke open in the way where God can enter in. And P.S., that door that you've been trying to get through, it's been you. That door was you. It was your heart. That's what it was. It was your heart. And that moment where it broke a little bit, where it hurt, but it felt like relief all at the same time, that was when the door cracked open and God was able to put his foot in. But now my challenge for you is open it up a little bit more. It's God. Don't be afraid of what's going to be required, because once again, that's your imagination running away with you. Believe me, the desires of his heart are your true desire. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to be scared. You don't have to feel like you're going to lose the little bit that you have. I promise you, you're about to gain way more than you ever thought. I got my hug. And I got it more than once. My sisters even prayed over me, and I saw him in the room then. I was sitting on the floor and they were all praying for me over my body. And I could see God wrapping his arms around me through them. You don't have to wait. You just got to be open. You just got to be open. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to understand it all. You don't have to understand what's in the blind spots. All you need is to be open and let God reveal it. Because remember, the blind spots are there so that you can ask the questions, so that he has a reason to consistently come for you and come for him. He loves to have a conversation with you. He loves to talk. Sometimes God just shares things. Some things he'll share with you, and it's not even just to go tell nobody. He's just talking because God made us like him. That thing you want to do, he may want to do something with you. That when you are feeling neglected in relationships, start thinking about, am I treating God a certain way? Does God allow me to know this? If you feel hurt from something, ask God, is there anything that I've done that you need me to change? You can even ask that. But it doesn't mean you need to feel guilty all the time or blame yourself. But sometimes I've learned that when I've been upset with people or people are treating me a certain way and I did not understand, I found out I was doing that very thing to God. And I was like, oh man, this messed up. Like, I'm so sorry. And then it changed my attitude towards the person because I was like, you know what? I can forgive them because I'm guilty of doing this to God of all. And I'm just human. And if I can do this to God, then what exempts it from happening to me? Like, but I feel like this past year was very difficult and hard, and it was a lot of the blind spaces, the things that you didn't expect to happen, you didn't expect to see. A lot of broken alabaster jars. But remember, out of the alabaster jar comes the oil. You have enough. You see this behind me? This is a collage. All this is things that I've done by hand or things were given to me over time. Over time, this whole set came together. I just had pieces of this and pieces of that just floating around the house, and God told me to get this and get that and put it together. And that's how he spoke to me about it, because I'm creative, and that's how my creative gift works. It's. But some of this stuff I've been having for years. Just been sitting on the shelf. These wings I made 2017. Years. By hand. And then you know why I had to make them? Because I was going to go do a photo shoot, and there were supposed to be all the designers that I was supposed to be working with, and people start backing out because people were bad mouthing me. But the shoots were already set up. So I had to start making clothes and making outfits. And some people stuck with me. There were some people that I had, but everyone else, no one wanted to work with me. And I just had this idea to make some wings. Just happened to have an idea to make wings. But if the problem didn't exist, then my gift wouldn't have been pulled out, and I wouldn't have gotten to the place where I realized, like, all the other things that came from just making these wings. Lorenza Nichol, the Black Butterfly Queen. I didn't call myself that then. God called me that. That's why I took the name. All this came from my gift. And the tools and the different things in it came over time. Sometimes you need time to learn how to love yourself, because God don't want to set you up in a position where you don't love yourself. And when people start attacking you, because they're going to attack. That's what people do, especially when we are in a relationship with God. But that's what people do. Okay? They attacked him. They're going to attack you. We just have to accept that as the truth. But we're not here to please other people. We're just here to please God. But when you learn how to love yourself properly is when you're ready. There's, of course, things God is going to give you to do in the meantime, between time. Cultivate your gift. Work on your harvest. Because when it's time, all of it's going to start coming. But you got to know how to love yourself correctly. You cannot skip that part. And it is a hard door to walk through, because there's some ugly things. There's accountability. There's responsibilities. Sometimes you have to go back and apologize for stuff yourself, because there's so much that comes with it. But there's freedom and liberty. And the things that you're limited in you become limitless because of God. He makes your limited things limitless. He used the very thing that made you sick to put you in a position. Then you get healed. And now you're in a position because of the sickness that you had to go help others that were like you. And you have favor. So that came along with that, but you don't have the sickness no more. But you got the favor from when you were. Like, you got to work on you here, the heart, because you have the heart. Dr. Anita Phillips says it's the heart, and then is the soil. Makes so much sense. It's crazy. It was confirming because God had talked to me about something similar. And when I read that, I was like, oh, I'm not the only one. But she had a whole other level to it. It must be God. Well, I've been talking for a little while now. I appreciate everybody that's tuned in, that's been chiming in and talking. I see y'all on here. Thank you for saying about my hair and I and yes, this did get very real. It is very much real. Yes. God is God is doing some amazing things, y'all. And I'm gonna just give y'all some background real quick before I go. God is just doing some amazing things. Everything that I've been doing so far is not what I thought I was going to do. I already told y'all that, but it is the what it requires for you to walk through these doors. You have to start loving yourself so that you can. Because when you walk through some of these doors, there's a lot of people that are going to just be siphoned out. They are not going to be coming through those doors with you. We hear that all the time, but you will be surprised who it is. And you'll be surprised who's on the other side of that door. Some people you thought you left somewhere. And if you don't get to a place where you are loving yourself properly, meaning in action, you're not perfect at everything, but it is the action, how you care for yourself, how you care for God first, how you care for yourself and others. Being intentional about that, when you start walking through the door and seeing new faces and sometimes old faces and not realizing, oh my God, I didn't know. If you're not ready, it will be too much. This is not a place out of your own strength. This is not a place that is out of your own strength. It is not out of your. God said, if you love me, you obey my commandment. It takes love to be in this space because you're going to have to be in a place willing to be obedient. You want the gift, you want the purpose, you want to walk in, you want to live the dream that you've been seeing. You're going to have to know how to love yourself properly. And the only way to do that is to seek God's face for it because he's love and he made you. He's the maker of it. But you cannot come into this space thinking it's by your own strength. You are not. At that term, self-made, I get it, but please. There's nothing about this place that I could have put together for myself because this is not even what I thought I would be doing. So how can I carry it alone? My only job in this place and will always be is to love God first and to be obedient to whatever he gives me to do. That's it. I cannot be more caught up with the dream than the dream maker. I just cannot. This is bigger than me. This is so much bigger than me. It's not just about me, but oh, I'm so glad that God allowed me to be here. So a lot of people don't tell us how it is making the transition from the latter to the former. From the former to the latter. That transition has to do with all your old things passing away. Sometimes even people pass. Different types of grief will occur. Letting go of a lot of things. You have to be so willing. You cannot rush the process. And I promise you, when you get to this place, you're going to be so grateful that you didn't. You're going to be so grateful that you did not. You're going to be so grateful that you listened. You're going to be so grateful that you went through what you went through then and not in this space. Because sowing the seed is hard. But so is picking the harvest. And it takes a different type of labor. It's a different type of work. And you have to be in a place where you are loving and kind to yourself because you know how to love God correctly. Because it's going to take the love of God to help you walk this out. And you're going to have to be very in tune with that. That is going to be your source, your energy, your foundation. Nothing else can give you the foundation you need like you need it, like the love of God. So you really want to become that thing? First, become what God called you. Loved by him. Wonderful and fearfully made. First, be that, because that is the foundation. You are wonderful and fearfully made. He loves you way too much to set you up in a place for you to fall. It is imperative. It is imperative that you do not try to skip this. You can't. This is the door you can't skip. Like they say in, you know, in is you know, a lot of these movies when it has to do with multiverses and stuff, this is a canon event. This is something that cannot be changed. You have to walk this out. You cannot change the door. The door is not going to be what you want it to look like. Isn't the key ain't going to be always what you want it to look like, but that's going to be your door, and that's going to be what you're going to have to walk through, and you can't skip it. You can't pass go. You have to walk it. It is required, but it is so worth it. It was never supposed to be easy. It was just always going to be worth it. And baby, I just got here, so I'll keep y'all updated as things continue. Okay. Okay. But I appreciate everybody that stopped in. I appreciate everybody that is watching. I appreciate all of y'all so much. I thank you, ladies and gents, supporting me. God bless y'all so much. I hope that you guys just have a great rest of your night. And I just want to just remind you, and I want to always tell you that we are all kings and queens of our own kingdoms. But it doesn't mean that your crown is not going to tilt. It doesn't mean it's not going to fall sometimes. It doesn't mean that you're not going to need to cast it at God's throne every now and again, too. It doesn't mean that it's not going to be cracked or tarnished. What it means is that it's yours. Okay? And God can fix anything. But something my son told me that always sticks with me, and this is why I say this at the end of just about every podcast I do. It doesn't matter. That crown's still gonna shine because has purpose. So you might have had to drag it through the mud, but you still have it. And people may not be able to see it because it may be a uniquely made crown, but it's yours. You are royalty. Don't you ever forget it. How else could God be the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords if there was no royalty to be royal over? You are the royalty that he stands over, stands in front of, and the foundation that your kingdom is made on. Don't you ever forget it. We're not here to be perfect. We're here to do our best in the time that we have at that time. And no, you cannot compare your best today to yesterday's best or the best to come. Just do what you can today. God knows your situation. He sees you, and he is not unreasonable. He's very reasonable and very loving. But that's it for me, guys. I appreciate y'all once again. Y'all be safe. And next week, I guess I'll see y'all next week. We'll see what happens. I don't want to say anything exactly because, like I said, I'm just following God in this place. Okay? So, but I believe I will see you guys next week. Okay? And if y'all have any questions about the podcast or anything, or any other pages that you can follow me on, please ask in the comments and share to those who you feel like this will, fit and everything. But yeah, please ask, and anything you need to ask. If there's something that you needed me to cover or ask a question, or while I was here that I didn't say that you wanted to know, yeah, put that in the comments so I can come back and answer and things like that. But much love, much peace to you guys, and I'll I see you next week at the throne. Bye. Okay, I'm saying bye, but I'm trying to see, how do I end it? So let me take this out, guys. Let me take my thing out here. Let me just take it out. Alrighty. And let's see. Yep, I think that's it. Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. Yeah, it's a new dawn, a new day, it's a new life, and I'm feeling good.